Welcome back to the road trip, everybody. We're at the Mammoth dig site in Waco, Texas. Those are woolly mammoth bones.
Other than that, though, basically it said, might have stopped there if not for the fact that it's all said that kind of stuff. Basically, they ended up looking into getting a little bit excited about it, given those two guys stressed what else they'd seen, describing a number of bones from several animals, including a few different species, because that's a tad more unusual. And so they looked into getting permission from the people that owned the land, which does mean those two guys were trespassing originally. Either way, they got that permission, came out here, found 16 mammoths out there, thought they were done, because those were specifically adult females and juveniles, seemingly a nursery herd, same general structure grouping that we see with elephants today. And in the process of, pulling that stuff out, they figured that's got to be everything, and started shifting soil back into the hole from over here that they put on the side, and stuff popped out over this way. Started digging this direction, probably thinking it's one or two more.
Can I see the sign behind you?
Stuff between what we currently have exposed in here, which is where it was found, it's in situ or in situation, and what was out that way. The total so far, mammoth-wise, in basically less than an acre of soil, is so far about 23, 24 mammoths, plus a number of other animals. And that's just with what we've touched, because we've touched an acre. What I mean is, in general, there's 107 acres available to the site. Baylor's geological department has done a number of boring samples outside of this building, trying to get an idea of the consistency of soil layers, not find anything, and they accidentally hit bones several other times in other spots. Interestingly enough, those holes inside of whatever they hit, they are discovery marks. Technically damaged. Still discovery marks, it's fine. The real fun is when they built the building, they actually did several drill down points for each one of those pillars going into the limestone. Rather large holes. They hit bone there as well. Some very large bone fragments. They know where that is. It means that there's probably at least a couple other more mammoths in those areas. Beyond that, though, it's not really a question of if there's more at this point. It's more a question of how much and what, let alone basically why the heck do we have so much. Most likely due to where we're currently at. Basically, in general, that's probably what we do these animals here, because, for instance, our large dynamic Q, these days, they don't get measurements of all this. This scale is mostly scale. It gets slightly off in two specific ways that I've heard of. First off, it's flat, and the lights above them were there first.
Whoa. It's a replica. There's a human femur. Okay, mammoth femur.
Initial assumption was based on the animals, layers, and proximity to the rivers. They looked at all this and they saw and just were like, flash flood evidence. Makes sense, right? These guys probably got trapped, they were killed by flash flood evidence, they probably hurt these rivers and, got buried by that. They were so sure of that specific thing, they did the mural right over there, which has a bunch of mammoths running in the water with a camel drowning in the back. I don't really blame them, I kind of agree with them for a bit. Thing is, in general, the last few years they've been, like the last 5 or 6 years especially, they've been looking through the animals and the layers in this area, as well as the ones they've been opening up with some of the plaster jackets. And they've noticed a lot of evidence that's pointing in the almost exact opposite direction to the other thing that Texas is very good at. Drought situation. First off, the clay is almost entirely composed of fine grained material, which is a big, it's clay. But problem is, if this was a flash flood situation or multiple flash floods, typically when we're talking about vascular,
There's a camel here too.
and that's non-existent. This is all basically exposure deposition material in the sense of over weeks, months, and years comparatively.
Let's see if it's with a cat.
Being washed away, the likelihood of flash floods.
Got an even-tailed mammal.
A little bit back towards the other direction.
And there's the camel.
And other things like
Camel.
mammoths. A bunch of bones right down there, like mammoths or juvenile. This animal seems to be, well, first off, I'm going to stress overly much, it is a juvenile. Why would this be important? Next thing I'm about to mention made us wonder whether or not that juvenile was possibly an adult that was undersized. It has what seems to be a rather severe case of malnutrition. We have confirmed apparently it's a juvenile, but especially along its spinal column of the vertebra have a decent amount of, I guess you could say, evidence of reabsorption of calcium and phosphate material from its own bone structure, which is basically a starvation response trying to make a difference for what's not getting out of its general food source, or lack thereof, basically. And it left that evidence upon its bone structure. Now, it could be that there is a possibility this might be a genetic issue, but it's not the only other animal on site that actually has the evidence. So it's looking more and more likely that it's a drought situation where they're not getting enough food. Now, the next bit.
Let's see here.
Those are our teeth, technically. Each one of those rib sections is one tooth. There's actually only a couple of them really visible with that. They're also not in the best shape. Our large male has a tooth that's fully visible here, well, not fully, partially visible here. That is in better shape, and then we'll see the best set of teeth around the corner with our female mammoth.
Thank you.
Yeah, but basically in general, as I said, lay down, die, before we do calcium. Yeah, the calcium situation basically, brain. In general, it does bring up
Juvenile,
and things like
juvenile,
that. Section
adult.
about 68,000 years ago.
It's a fragment of a different adult.
With a relatively well-known drought in the general Americas at the time. So
The tusks.
it does kind of fit, apparently.
These tusks. Oh my god.
That's the reason why I overstress these days that this is not the only spot, but this small spot that we've worked on, that we have more. It's real fun when I even mention sometimes, like right now, a few hundred yards past that wall is a housing development. They're never going to know what they're saying. Why? Houses in Texas. Pier and beam, slab foundation, no real basements. Closest thing you're going to get is, I don't know, pool maybe, or septic system, which we're in city limits. And so the other thing is storm shelter. I don't know. Yeah. Who knows? I will stress though, this area seems to be the best for burying stuff just because it is between the rivers, and so for whatever reason, water deposits stuff here even if it's not quickly, and then it doesn't really get eroded away as often unless it's like the creek bed. So other than that though, and those sorts of things we're going to get into in general, I will stress, as I said, we're going to look at this stuff. Any questions further before I get majorly into this right here, what we are seeing right below us? Not exactly. This is a pile of dirt, technically. Interestingly enough, it's left behind on purpose as a witness column, which is what they call it. It's a reference point, gives an idea of the soil height. They can take samples from it, that kind of stuff, the layers, see all that kind of thing. Personally, I prefer seeing any of the layers in this dirt wall over here, though it's hard to see some of that because the best part is literally blocked by nothing right now. But you can, in some way, see a little bit of that layering over there. It had been a mold for a few years, but that changed in 2020. National Work Service hired building laws, they're going to that, of course, was COVID. Last few years, have been a lot of general maintenance work. Last 2 or 3 have been a bit of removal of soil, which was those buckets in general. Those from floor sections or side areas where they moved that basically, and they're going to be, have been, and will be going through the rest of those doing screen washing, etc. It's going to take a while. through several thousand years later because he's higher up by a decent amount, actually. And interestingly enough, we had him labeled about 51,000 years ago. More recently, our paleontologists and the interns confirmed that it looks like the layer that was dated to 51,000 years ago might be slightly above him, which, if that's the case, means he's older, somewhere between 51 to 68,000 years. Now, if you think that's vague, it is, but it can be worse in some ways. When we follow these layers that direction towards our female mammoth W, they seem to kind of vanish and get replaced by an intersection that she seems to be in, which, if that's the case, puts her under 15,000 years, and that's about all I'm guaranteed. They're actually planning on redoing the layer dating because realistically the original sections were only 2 of them, and they want to confirm the consistency of here as well as back that way, so we'll see how that goes. But it should be happening shortly. I just don't know. Beyond that, it's a situation of he came through unknowingly walking over the others and literally ended up stuck on top of them. Whether he collapsed because it was injury, exhaustion, disease, or otherwise is hard to guarantee. It could be as boring as a heart attack, but he did a belly flop, which is different from just about every other mammoth on site. They're all on their side. This is not a comfortable position for an animal the size of shape. His back legs are played out behind him. He's lying on his front left, and underneath his midsection pelvis and right is over this way. This is a difficult position for an animal like a mammoth or elephant to get up from because they're not built to do things like push-ups, jumps, or inclines greater than like 25 degrees.